A lot of people don't seem to understand that Magic card prices are subjective, not objective. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, and welcome to what could be considered part 2 of my series, I Know Better Than You, talking about card prices here. Now, are you gonna take advice from a man? Like, does this man even own a comb? You're gonna listen to me? Look at this. Oh, unshaven. Look, this looks terrible. Terrible. How can you be on camera? Well, it's actually, I find it kind of amusing to put out videos that have a bunch of useful information where I look like this, so you have to deal with the cognitive dissonance of going, what he's saying makes sense, but he looks like he should be asking me for meth in some kind of alley. All right, so let's do it, friends. Let's talk about card prices. Now, these card prices, obviously, they're not a static thing. The way this has evolved over time is Magic the Gathering used to be a trade economy. Now it's very much a buy and sell economy, but it used to be heavily trade economy supplemented through sales where you would buy singles exclusively from the store. Like single sales between people was virtually unheard of that I know of. Between people, it was always done with trading, and through the store wanted money. And that was the way of it for a long time. And I could mark the transition because I remember there would be this dude who would come along to drafts, and this was like near the end of the 90s. He would come out to drafts, all right? And he would draft with the rest of us. And he would come every week and draft, week in and out. Draft, building up his collection and playing. I never saw him trade. He would only buy the cards he wanted. But he wasn't like an anomaly. Like he was not the norm. He was not what was normally going on. Most people were trading for everything. But this one guy just wanted nothing to do with it. And I said to him, I was just like, well, like you keep drafting, you're building up all these cards. Why don't you trade? And he just couldn't be bothered. He didn't care. He didn't want to deal with any of that. And slowly but surely, over time, as pricing information became more prevalent and people started to treat it as more of a static, this is the Bible sort of way, trading kind of went by the wayside. And I think that's because it's a lot more effort to trade. You have to sit there and actually figure out the values and understand that Magic cards have more of a subjective value and people have different valuations. And once you bring the monetary concept into it, then that gives people a firmer thing to work with that also allows them to be more lazy because they can let other people do the work of deciding the value of the cards. So slowly but surely, we've moved from that trade economy to the buy and sell economy. But the thing about these prices that a lot of people don't get is they feel like, oh, these prices are absolutely no point to them. But they all started as guesses. I mean, when you look at what's being sold, it's all people just evaluating the spoiler ahead of time. And the prices that Star City Games face-to-face, that's just their guess of what they think are good. Like, these are what we think are going to be the good cards. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes you see hilarious garbage mythics rated way higher money-wise than they should be. It's all what they want to get, too. You got to understand that these prices are being set by the people who are opening the boxes who are like, oh, this is what I want to get for these cards. Not based on, like, Magic cards don't have an intrinsic value, obviously. There's no intrinsic value aside from the actual physical, like, cardboard itself. If you want to use the cardboard, you want to write on it or something, it does have that level of intrinsic value. But it's really just perceived subjective value based on supply and demand, right? Now, it's difficult to try and put these concepts into people's minds that cards aren't worth what they say they are online until you, like, really see it in action. So I'm going to lay out a real world scenario for you here using a little bit of like some made up numbers and things like that just for ease, okay? So I'm going to pick Teferi. Let's say there's a Teferi right now, a Teferi Planeswalker. Just pick any random one. It doesn't really matter. And it's in the display case, it's $35. Like, you are the person who is working at the store or owns the store, and you have a display case set up, right? And in this display case, you have all these cards set out with price tags on them. And people will come in and comment on the cards and say, oh, this card's priced too high, the price is gone, price is lower now, or whatever. Like, people will say that's not the correct price, right? And that there is no such thing as the correct price. And this can be evidenced in watching people's actions. Now, let's say you have this Teferi in the display case and it's $35, and you've had it in the display case for weeks at $35. And unbeknownst to you, 4 or 5 days ago, it went up to being $50 online. You go to the different sites and it's $50 at these different sites now. No longer listed at $35 like it was when you put it out. It's now listed at $50 at a bunch of different places. Now people start coming into you and saying, hey, that card you have is at 35 has actually moved up to 50. And multiple people come and say that to you. But you know what they don't do? They don't buy it. That means it's not worth $50. If they're saying online it's at $50 and you can't even sell it for 35, it's not worth $50. But a lot of people would move the card in the display case up to $50, going, this is a $50 card now, hoping to sell it. And what happens is they hang on to it, it doesn't sell, it dips down to 40, they move it down to 40, it doesn't sell, and eventually it goes back down to the 35. Maybe they sell it at that, right? But if you leave it at the 35 that you wanted all along, this perceived shift has come along and increased the value in people's minds. But then you leave it at 35 and somebody buys it at that, they feel like they're getting a deal. You can't move it to 50. There's no such thing as correct prices. I've seen people come in and there will be like a foil planeswalker that it's in the display case maybe for $4, and someone will come in and be like, actually the correct price is $250 online, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. Okay, these prices change constantly, constantly. I've been in huge deals where basically I went through all these cards and I pulled them all out and I put them into different price piles and said, okay, I've looked all these up, these are the different price piles. And this guy whose collection it was, less than an hour later, using the exact same site that I was, went back. Some of the prices had changed. So he's acting like I'm trying to run a grift on him. Because when you look at it percentage-wise, a 50-cent card moving to 75 cents, that's a 50% increase. And that can happen in an hour. So there's no correct set price. And it's not like the days where we had the Scry magazines that came out and you would just look at them and go, like, these prices only come out every couple months and they don't feel right. People back then would establish things more themselves. But you don't have that anymore. You have a mentality where people look at these prices that are set online and go, that's the Bible, that's what these are worth. They're actually genuinely worth it. It's not like people treat this stuff like it's like gold or something. It's not. They're magic cards, guys. Gold has intrinsic value. Gold can be used to make computer components or other real world things of value. Magic cards can be used for paper mache. Their only value is in that we want them to play with and the level of scarcity versus how easy it is to acquire them. So in terms of card prices and stuff like that, the more printings there are of a card, if you don't have some super rare special foil edition printed of something that's really hard to get, there's not that much that makes it worth that much. And trying to pretend like it's worth, you can't go like, okay, the difference between gold and cards, you can't walk around with like dual lands and go, hey, and just try and get people on the street to give you something for them. Like, hey, whatever. With gold, people know the value of gold. That goes across the board. That's virtually everybody. It may be difficult to get somebody to take gold off of you, but they would still acknowledge that it is of value. They would just be like, I wouldn't know how to sell that or get my money out of it, as opposed to like a magic card. They'd be, what kind of nonsense are you even talking about? There's a world of difference between things like gold and things like magic cards. These, like, there's something that the store owner used to do that I loved, that he would come back sometimes when people were arguing about big expensive cards. He would come back and he would just take like a dual land and he would just destroy it in front of everybody. He would just take like an expensive dual land, get everybody's attention, and just snip it in half and go, they're just cards, boys. They're just cards. And that's what you got to remember. The mentality translates into buying and selling too. These things aren't new intrinsic value. When you're selling them, people treat it as if it's like, like I said, this card's at $50. I want absolutely $50 for it right now. But I don't want to put in, like, I want to be able to go to like anyone, a shop or whatever, and just go, here, take all my stuff and give me full value. I'm selling everything, and I want 95% of the value. Are you out of your mind? Are you insane? These are used goods. First of all, these are used goods. Doesn't matter. Oh, I took it out of the bag. Like, you're gonna go and use your PlayStation and play it. Oh, yeah. No. Now you know what I expect. I expect full value or more. Oh, it's the same condition as when I got it. It's this insane sort of mentality. But even if you take that part aside and you don't like that part of the argument, the part of the argument where they don't want to put any of the effort or have the overhead, I want full store prices without setting up a store, building customer base, doing any of that. It's all these things where the person just thinks, I looked online, the cards are worth it. Like, I've had people do that where they come in, like, because I buy collections, and people will come in and they'll be like, I looked it all up and all the cards in here are worth $1,000 and I'm looking for $700 or $800. And I'm like, all right, have a nice day. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't even want to make an offer to you, because the offer that I'm going to make you is going to be so genuinely insulting that there's no point in us doing this. The way that you've looked at the prices online and the type of cards I see in here, you're asking full price for cards that are virtually worthless. Honestly, if I was going to make you an offer, it would be like 1/10 of what you think this is worth, and you're going to be insulted and leave. But in their head, it's worth $1,000 because they're pricing out all the commons at 15 cents. They've gone and looked up all these cards, and now they're like, I know what all this is worth. Now I don't want to go and find individual buyers who value these all at the full prices. I want you to consider it to be all worth this. Do all that work and just give me, like, I want the lion's share of the money, and you do the lion's share of the work. It's a crazy mentality where people don't understand the value of the cards, and it's there's no such thing as the correct price for cards, and you need to bear that in mind. Magic is like, it's like a fiat currency where people just think, you walk into it nowadays and you look and you see all these cards that are worth all this, and people say it's worth all this, but it's not really. And the prices in the market, it's softening, boys. I've been doing this stuff for a long time, and the market now, it's getting soft again. And I'm not surprised, because the market had gotten way too turgid, way too hard and just extended and bloated, with all kinds of insane people like investing in everything under the sun. I mean, Wall of Kelp's getting pushed up into the double-digit ranges. It's reached the point where Magic card prices no longer reflect reality, and most of you don't have the ability to see that because you haven't been here long enough, or nobody's pointed it out to you. And it's absolutely mind-blowing to me, I gotta say, in all honesty, that it's reached this point. But here it is, man. I figure I lay it out for you. You guys let me know what you think about this. Maybe I didn't phrase it perfectly to get the concept across. I may need to come back to this idea again and lay it out in a different way. But I think you can at least pick up some points of what I'm trying to say here and about the way you value cards. Magic cards, to me, if you're going to value them and think of them as money, you should only think of them in terms of what you can get for them instantaneously. Whatever you can get for the card today. And I mean, you know that you can get that you can walk down, if there's a local game store near you, and you know they give you 25 to 40% on your cards, only the cards you have that they will take are worth 20 to 40%, and that's all you have in terms of value. That's how you need to value your collection in terms of true value, okay? Anything else is dangerous and stupid in terms of actually thinking it's worth that. Hell, if you can find people and get the money out of it, good. But don't be that person yourself, is what I'm saying. That being said, let's check in with the 6-color Magic.
This is Sean, the bicycle enthusiast, from the edge of the world itself, California. That's right, the sun's about to go into the ocean and die. That's what we see here in California every day. That's right. And together, we are Armageddon Crew. I mean, together, we are Perp Media. Team Purple, the 6th color of Magic. We'll see who's laughing in 6 billion years.
And now we're going to talk to the people who do know what to do with their money. Oh yeah, the Golden Lords. Thanks for supporting me on Patreon, boys. Scroll is rolling on by. We got 2 new members to welcome. Welcoming aboard, DJXs. I want to call you DJXs. Dejected. All right, and Troll Master Sage. Welcome aboard, boys. Now, I offer to you some more entertainment goodness created by me, and we'll be back for some more fun live stream action later today. Hail to the king, baby!